Hello everybody, this is Titan Fox from Hammer King in the middle of a tour with Warkings. Today I'm speaking with my friend Jasper and we're talking about one of my favorite bands, and it is Nevermore.
I'm really happy, Titan, because first of all, thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure.
In this series so far, we've had Iron Maiden a few times. We've had some other bands. We've not had Nevermore just yet, so that's exciting.
I must confess, when I was asked to do this, everybody knows that I'm big into bands outside of metal, and I thought, oh well, we could talk about some British blues and jazz rock today, and everybody is probably relieved that we're not. Of course, it could have been Wishbone Ash, because they are non-metal, but everybody in classic metal has Wishbone Ash basic influences. Rush was something as well, of course, but I thought, let's talk metal, and if we're not talking outside of metal, we should at least have something that is unique, and I think Nevermore is... Nobody sounds like Nevermore.
It's one of those bands that everybody that was, let's say, already part of the scene in the 90s, whether you were a young fan, teenager, or you were an established artist, everybody knows about Nevermore. Everybody will put them on a pedestal. But if it comes down to it, not that many people, still know Nevermore, if you will, or give them their credit as due. So let's start at the start. In your own journey, how and when did you discover them?
I was the only time that I went to a Blind Guardian show. That was one day before my birthday, but I still can't tell you what year it was. Maybe it was 95. It was the Imaginations tour. It must have been 95. And my father and I went to Mannheim, which is relatively close to here. We went to an old theater called the Capitol, and we were sitting upstairs watching the show. And before that, before Blind Guardian started, there was this band called Nevermore. I had not known anything about them, and my friend Gino Wild, who is the guitar player in Hammer King, he was there as well, because he was in the Blind Guardian fan club. And he told me before, that's the band, basically this is Sanctuary from the United States. And I said, I don't know Sanctuary, I'm sorry. But anyway, okay, and musically, they are not Sanctuary at all, which I personally, with all due respect, I'm happy about, because Sanctuary is a good band, no question, but Nevermore special. And they came out, and the first thing, of course, that I witnessed was, oh my goodness, do these guys have long hair? I mean, it was the height of their hair. Warrel was almost halfway across his legs, and Loomis was that, and even Shepard was that. And who was the guitar player? It probably was Pat O'Brien already. I think it was Pat O'Brien, and Pat O'Brien still
yeah.
I think it was.
He joined early 90s.
Yeah. Exactly. He is on Politics, so he already was touring with the debut album, and of course Van Williams also had long hair. It was amazing. They were full of energy, and there was this gigantic delay on Warrel's vocals all the time. Even when he was talking, was woo woo like this. And I thought, okay, I don't get it. It's strange, but it has something. And then I bought Politics of Ecstasy, which came out probably half a year later. And I just didn't get into it, because it was so weird, and the whole album looks like LSD. And I bought the album, I played it, and I didn't get it, and I put it away, and a friend of mine took the album for a year. And when he returned the album, I put it back into my car stereo, and from that second on, I understood the music. And then I was a tremendous Nevermore fan, and this same thing always happened whenever they put out a new album. Every time it took me some while to get into it, but that was basically, I saw them live and they convinced me.
An interesting thing about this band is that they also they fit in everywhere and nowhere at the same time, and they were one of those few bands that kept the spirit of classic heavy metal, albeit in a groovy proggy way, alive in the 90s. That was defined by grunge, new metal, alternative rock, and black and death metal. So they were a bit of a weird team out there. If we have to go into your specific fandom, and if you were to call it, like, hey, if you have 3 songs that you can check out by Nevermore, these ones are special to me in some way, shape, or form, where will we find that first song that stands out for you?
I will begin on their last album. There was a song, and I think it was the first video single that they had, was called Emptiness, Unobstructed. A beautiful title, because that was what Warrel Dane wrote. He wrote lyrics that I, not being an American or English person, never really totally understood. So that was some of the magic about Nevermore. They were super brutal, very unique, and at the same time it was art. I mean, it was metal, but it was pure art. The lyrics from Warrel Dane's mind were absolutely non-standard. And I mean, the Emptiness, Unobstructed, that is, I needed to pick that one. It might not be my uber super special favorite song, but that was a song that is catchy and at the same time highly emotional. I mean, when he starts singing, "This world is still a spinning ball of confusion," there was so much passion in it, so much feeling in it. That's something that other vocalists never did that in that intensity. I mean, it was apparent that Warrel Dane sort of had a self-destructive lifestyle, and at the same time it was integrity, because that's exactly what he transported in his music. I mean, being a vocalist, I know that his way of singing was not healthy for his voice. And there was some sort of strain in the later years, but you cannot sing these songs in a normal, in a healthy way. It's impossible. So it is a very well kept secret that maybe 2 years ago we tried to record 2 cover songs because we were asked to, and we chose 2 songs, and one of them was a Nevermore song, and we never went further than doing a demo of it, because it makes 0 sense to play these songs with a different vocalist. It's absolutely not important. And even if I did my best to either make it my own or to try to emulate Warrel, it was absolutely nothing. So Emptiness, Unobstructed, for being catchy, powerful, and very, very, very melancholic at the same time. It's there's 4 minutes of music happening more than with other bands in 4 albums.
Even forget about the music, but specifically the lyrical side of things, you gave a perfect example. Warrel was able to build a whole new world for you in just a few words. So I'm going to use that as a slightly forced segue to, with your own band, Hammer King, you build a world now in a very different way than Nevermore.
Very different.
But it's clear that for you, having this whole, giving people the option to just close their eyes and see a whole world in front of them based on a few lyrics of your songs is really important to you. A clear influence then from Nevermore onto you?
Interestingly, I didn't think of that before. We have the song Hailed by the Hammer on the new album. Which is, for the Hammer King world, is close to being a Nevermore song. If you take away the lyrics and the vocals, you have riffs that are not standard for Hammer King, and we are not as complex in no way as Nevermore were, but it has the same, we thought of the same aggression, let's put it that way. Therefore there is a slight link between us and them. And I mean, with Hammer King we are a band that definitely consciously wants to invite people to sing along, to be part of the show. We just played 3 shows with Warkings so far, and when you do a song like the title track König and Kaiser, and you go like Hail, 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 2, 3, 4, well, that works perfectly. Everybody gets into that. It's of course it's different than from what Warrel did. So we never would try to use complex lyrics in that way, but taking people into a different world, be it the negative world of Nevermore or the cheerful and playful world of the Hammer King, I think that is the purpose of music. No matter what the initial thought of it is, I don't think that Warrel stood up in the morning and said, well, let's try and put people into a self-destructive mode, and let's think of things, I'm a happy guy, let's think of negative lyrics. I think that was pretty much the way he was. But it's wonderful to turn something that was probably heavy on him into something beautiful that inspired people.
Unfortunately, I mean, the Nevermore enthusiast that clicked on this video and the more advanced metalhead that is watching this conversation right now obviously does not need to be told this, but the more casual viewer or the Hammer King fan first and foremost that is discovering a new band today might not know, but Warrel Dane, unfortunately, his destructive lifestyle did, you know, end in a way that maybe many people saw coming. We know that he was not well, and that happened already in 2017, I think. Nevermore. Yeah, I know. It's 7 years ago already. Nevermore quit as a band in 2011, 2012, something like that. Warrel brought Sanctuary back to celebrate those roots. When Sanctuary was over, did you follow the different members like Warrel and Jeff, who then obviously, you know, took over, you know, guitar duties in Arch Enemy? Did you keep following them separately with the same passion, or was it like, you know, Nevermore is over, the magic is done for me?
Honestly, yeah, the magic was done. I mean, the interesting thing is Jeff Loomis might be one of the most technically gifted guitar players out there, and it's unplayable what he does. But myself being a guitar player, I'm not interested in guitar playing for whatever reason. I mean, I'm interested in the feeling that it gives you, if it does. And the interesting thing about Loomis in Nevermore has always been that he, no matter how many gazillion notes he had played, he created a color, he created a mood, and that was the interesting thing. It didn't matter if it was tricky, which it was. It just created a picture, a thought, a mood of whatever, and therefore, I mean, it was nice to see that Loomis earned money and respect when he was in Arch Enemy, but well, to me as a fan, that almost hurt to see somebody like Loomis, who inspired me and a generation of people, just play guitar in a band where everybody else being technically capable could have been the guitarist, and basically that was it. And therefore, I mean, I try to calm myself by listening to Sanctuary, but I saw them live on a German festival. Warrel already looked very, very bad, and they played 2 new songs before the album came out, and I said to my girlfriend at the time, listen, it doesn't sound like Sanctuary, it sounds like Nevermore, but sadly it sounds like Nevermore Light. So it was not intense enough, and of course, for obvious reasons, they could never have done something like Battle Angels again. They tried to reproduce that live, and that was, with all due respect, that was tricky enough to witness. So I mean, sometimes I think it's part of human nature to struggle with accepting that things have their time, and sometimes they're over. I mean, that's the way it is.
Okay, so I have a feeling then that we're gonna delve even further back into history for your second choice. It will be interesting to see, because every album was kind of its own effort. The albums were all quite different from each other. And you've got fans of the later stuff, you got fans of the early stuff, and you got fans of the whole thing. Where are you taking us for your second choice?
The second is not that much newer, actually. It's the opening track from This Godless Endeavor, Born. That is a world of its own. Yeah, absolutely. I just played it a couple of weeks ago. This thing that they captured on Wacken, when everybody was on top of all the other people in the audience, was I want chaos, and he got chaos. So that, by the way, there's another link to the new Hammer King album. I had not planned on saying that, but we have a song called I Want Chaos on the new album.
Exactly.
And many people in Germany think that it's inspired by Creator with Horse of Chaos, but it's truly because I saw Warrel scream I Want Chaos to the audience. That's the only reason. Born is the song, yeah. I remember putting in the album and I really thought, for the second time in my life, they just have printed the wrong picture on an album from any band. This is not Nevermore. Until minute 20 or whatever, he starts singing in his usual style. And I said, okay, this is really, really different. But when the chorus kicks in, I mean, that's like cinema. It's broad, huge, deep, colorful. You have these insane guitar arpeggios from Loomis, which are not to show off how good he is. It's just like a violin in an orchestra. It's tricky, but it doesn't matter. It's the color that matters. And Warrel singing this huge, slow words, and the choice of the words is incredible. And you could have this despite this disgust that he obviously felt about mostly anything in life when he starts singing the pigs. It's so over the top and oh my goodness. I mean, how old is this album? I can't remember. But I will never. Is it from? No, I can't tell you. Is it from 2007, 6, something like this? Is it?
Something like that. Yeah.
Early
and 2000s.
Yeah, definitely. And it will never lose the slightest bit of quality, intense. It will always be the same intensity, and I will never lose fascination about it. Whenever he starts singing the pigs, you know that this is meant to be this. It's not just singing. It's,
yeah. Now, also one thing that with that album, a couple of albums of theirs also got an special status through their cover art. And this Godless Endeavor is like it was a break from some of the more psychedelic stuff in the very early time, and then they had some more like demon figures and skulls and snakes and whatever. This Godless Endeavor was a disturbing picture by itself when we see the girl walking away from this barren wasteland with heads on spikes. You don't really know if she has survived something or if she's the villain or what have you, but it creates again this whole world. A clear link again with Hammer King, that is Hammer King is maybe not or not equally maybe, but the visual part is very important to your band. Maybe not the same as the music, maybe it is in your perspective. I'd love to get your thoughts on that. But I know that you're also a big Star Wars fan and what have you. You like big stories. So when you were starting with Hammer King, I interviewed you for the first album, I interviewed you for the second album. I have a feeling that 7-8 years ago you already had a very clear vision of this is the world I want to build. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, the interesting thing is, and that is one of the questions that I did answer gazillions of times in the last.
Sorry.
No, not yours. The one that I'm building the bridge with has always been about how did you create this and that, and usually my answer, maybe this is why it's so hard on me. My answer is always I don't know. It's many things with Hammer King happen without reflection. It's just the gut feeling or what the instinct, whatever. But the feeling that we knew what we wanted to do and where we would like to go in the next couple of years had been there from day one, and that was the difference from all the other bands that we had been before that. We had been in before that, and now being on tour with Warkings, who are a very, very visual band, it only makes it more obvious that we need to be as visual as possible. We have a song, the title song is called König and Kaiser, King and Emperor. And we filmed the video in Austria in the mountains and on a castle and so on, and I have a huge blue royal robe now, like the Kaiser, the Hammer King on the cover has. And so far we have not been able to use it live because on the first 3 shows, every time there was something that was not planned, like the local changed the time frame, so it was almost like, it's not happening today. But we try to do it after Easter when the tour goes on, and I think it will be the starting point for us to include more visuals in the show. We have gold, what was it, Münze, the coins, gold coins. That we want to give to the audience as sort of a welcoming gift when you join the kingdom, and I want to wear that robe for one song, so just to link everything together, and it should be on the last song, and then I should walk straight through the hall to the merchandise stand in that royal robe, so to speak. So the visuals are important, of course, they are. And nowadays, the market being so full, you have to have something that people are able to realize who you are. Otherwise, it's very tricky.
So far, we've had two songs that have been very important in world building, in creating a visual as well. Born obviously being a song that was played many times live with big production shows. Because let's not forget how big Nevermore truly was, how popular they were. So where are you taking us with your final pick?
After the final one, I will have to mention at least two honorable ones, but
if you want to give your honorable mentions first, go for it. Don't worry.
Okay, of course. There is Matricide from the wonderful In Memory EP. Very special EP because when Van Williams joined the band, he's only on half of the songs from the debut album, and you can feel that the band sounds more intense on these half of the songs already. But In Memory was the first thing that he was part when it was created,
right.
And the band sounded so much more intense, which is the reason why I always like to say that Van Williams is a criminally underrated drummer in heavy metal. Maybe one of the best drummers in metal ever. And he's unique. He's got a style that nobody else has. And on top of that, his playing defines the sound and the intensity of the band. And that is something that John Heisman from Colosseum once said, playing the band, not playing the drums. And that's what Williams always has done. He's a fantastic drummer and a wonderful person, I think. And therefore, there is the song Matricide, which is a slow song, quite melancholic song, and I've always loved that song very much. And I had been there when they recorded their DVD in, was it Bochum, Germany, somewhere in Germany, and in the middle of that gigantic set they played Matricide, and that was something that I could not believe, ever hearing a song like this, a deep cut. So Matricide is very important, and so is the title track, This Godless Endeavor, for being a catchy song of 7+ minutes without having a chorus. You can follow that thing from start to finish. It's a total progression. It's a journey, it's a nightmare, whatever, but it's absolutely not catchy at all. And the third and last honorable mention is the title track from Politics of Ecstasy, which is maybe the most intense psychedelic thing that they did. Dissonant like shit and absolutely dark, and they played that song as well on the DVD show, and it was the second part of the evening where I thought, it's incredible that I witnessed this. I never thought that they would play that. Wonderful. But my real choice, my third choice is the Seven Tongues of God. I mean, I could probably write a book about that song. There's everything about that song is super interesting. The opening chords with the bass guitar, and then when it starts building up, going into that groove, the moment when Van Williams switches the snare drum and does double time, it's incredible. He's got some cymbals in between, which are insane, so it's everything about that song is absolutely strange. But to me, it's the Seven Tongues of God is maybe what I would show somebody who does not know what Nevermore did before they got sort of catchy. They did something that nobody else did, having guitar riffs basically like in death metal, with a unique, almost Latin sounding drummer, and on top of that having a vocalist who creates vocal lines that you really don't understand. I mean, he sings it's always sort of in key, but it's absolutely around anything that I would do in Hammer King. It's never clear what he does, and it's absolutely intense. And again, the vocals, the lyrics are very, very negative, very heavy, very dark, political. I mean, it's a political album, absolutely, and it's a perfect song. I mean, it's catchy without being truly melodic. It's very catchy without following any rule of writing a catchy song. It's something very different.
When we think about, Hammer King, one thing that stands out for you guys, and we mentioned Hammer and König, something that we've started seeing not just with Hammer King but with a couple of epic bands, let's call them, whether they're more symphonic or more power or more heavy or whatever. We see a few more German bands finally daring to be a little bit more German. Not some bands have been doing this forever. Obviously, some bands are just starting to do that. But what's interesting, and I'm sure that who I know you're so close with everything that you do, must have also realized that those songs tend to do really well in non-German speaking places of the world, especially here in North America. So it's interesting to see. Is that something that that understanding that the unique thing is what is catchy, even if it's on paper maybe weird? Is that a lesson that you've learned?
I would like to absolutely agree here. When we had the song, as I mentioned before, it was as always by coincidence. We just had German lyrics, and I tried to replace them with English lyrics, and they sounded smaller on that song. So we kept it. It was our drummer Dolph who said, "Please keep it the way it is." And I mean, for German speakers, König und Kaiser, that is so classic. That is, it's far more than King and Emperor. It's so German. It's so historic. It's just more than that. And then it happened exactly. Couple of people told us, you should not do that. That will not work in other countries.
Exactly.
And I said, I have the feeling that it's the opposite. And everybody that I spoke with from all the countries, they all liked the German thing. So the only people who warned us were Germans. Yeah. Right. So we did not listen to them. And the product manager who works for us, with us in Napalm is Meek, the male vocalist from Visions of Atlantis. And he is Italian, and he was the reason why we have a German title track, because he's not German. He said, "I'm Italian, but I think it's fantastic. You should use that as a title track." So without him, probably the album would be called Hailed by the Hammer or whatever.
Hail to the master, hail to the king, hail to the Kaiser of all.
So if it fits the song, why not have it? I mean, we would never try to turn Hammer King into a 50% German band. That's ridiculous. But if you have a good idea where it works, I mean, we had Aderlass on the first album, Bloodletting, and it sounds, Aderlass is so German. You cannot translate that. It's just, it has something. And why shouldn't you use that? I mean, I like Turkish bands sometimes, and I don't understand what they sing, but it really fits the sort of Oriental style that they play. So use it,
Exactly. So with that, to wrap us up, Titan, you've done a great job in collecting a song that shows the lyrical prowess of Nevermore, the world building of Nevermore, and then finally also just we're gonna do whatever the fuck we want, and people will enjoy it. And that's what this band was all about. And unfortunately, the band has ceased to be over 10 years ago now already. Titan, to wrap us up, we all know that you're on the road right now, as we're calling, with Warkings. You've got some cool dates. It's going to be a busy summer for you as well. There's festivals coming. So just for everybody watching this video, what should we keep our eyes open for the remainder of the year?
I mean, this year is, as it seems, the year of the live performances for us. And hopefully that would be our plan. First establish the band in Central Europe and maybe have England and have South Europe as well, and then hopefully being able to come to North America, South America. So that would be something. I've always said that we would like to go wherever we can, and whatever offer is doable. I mean, there's offers that are not acceptable, but whatever offer is doable, we are very willing to do that. So for everybody out there, if you want to see us, tell everybody. It always helps that people know that there is interest in the band, and we would like to play as much as possible and not make a new album in the next year. I always say that it never works, but maybe next year we'll be on the road, and we're turning 10 years old next year, so there should be some celebration for that as well. So maybe should have a live album, maybe, or a package with live songs and all the rare material, unused material, whatever we are able to come up with and whatever the record company wants us to do. And definitely there is plans for the future, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, we know that you don't sit still, because in the last 3 years we've seen 3 albums. So if you guys are, casting the iron while it's hot. Titan, thank you so much for allowing us all to kind of look inside what went on there from an influence perspective and the bands that you like. Thank you for sharing your love for Nevermore, and I'm sure that there's a few people watching this that have got a whole new band to discover now. Awesome. I look forward to seeing you on a stage, whether that is on a European festival or a tour that you might come overseas. We'll see, but I keep my fingers crossed that will happen very soon. Thank you so much for your time. Always good talking to you, and I look forward to our next conversation.
Absolutely the same here. It's been a pleasure, and it's been refreshing to talk about something not typical in interviews. Absolutely. And when Lisa from Napalm contacted me and said, "Hey, Jasper wants to do something," I said, "Hey, I wondered where Jasper was. He was not on my list already," because this is really, talking with you is always a highlight in all the interviews. Not taking away anything from other people, but thank you for this wonderful conversation, and I have more energy than before. So thank you very much.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.